the municipalities as well as other entities that are represented. Really, it's my pleasure to be part of the program tonight, and as we discuss this very much important developments as we come to the end of the project, but not the program, as I was correctly told yesterday. So we'll be looking at what actually help us to attract the investment, and I'm looking at it from what we have been able to achieve to say really the things that on theory we always talk about and say they have to be in place, almost like a requisite to attract the investment. I've seen them taking place in this part of our South Africa region. The first thing, Jeremy, that becomes important if I want to attract investment is that we have to have a very strong leadership. And I use the word very progressive leadership because we know that it's a dynamic environment. What it is today, tomorrow is different. And a leadership that has a vision, but is also dynamic and be able to be agile and receive changes. Because if it were not the case, when we started this period of leadership at Eastern Cape, we didn't know that we would have such a good partnership with the Canadians. But when they came into an environment that has a progressive leadership that was able to receive the partnership with no arrogance, prepared to learn, but also prepared to share the experience with no reservation. So for me, that was a very important element that is there. The second element that has to be there, Jeremy, is that on your own, as a municipality or as a region, you have to have some sort of package investment opportunities. Because when an opportunity comes and it finds that you are not ready, you don't have a plan, we are likely to lose it. So in this instance, Canadians, when they came to us, we went to Eastern Cape, we found municipalities that have their own projects within the IDP and other plans. So it was very easy for us to take what was already there and say, introduce it to the Canadians, and the partnership was formed. And I think it's very important as we go forward that we identify these projects, we package them appropriately so that if we get either investors or donors coming in, they find us very ready. The next one is that we need an investment climate. You know what the regions do, whether you talk municipality, you talk a province, or you talk a country, we always move around. Obviously, with COVID, there's a limitation on international investment promotion exercise. But what has been happening is that you'll find that, especially from the developing world, we fly around the world looking for investment. And the advice is that, yes, that might be important, but what is more important is to actually develop an investment climate that is conducive to investment. If you are to invest your resources there, we are likely to attract more investment than to promote yourself from no base. Because when they come in, they find that we have environment. In fact, what tends to happen, if you look at places like Oha, you will find that companies that have already invested there because there is almost a fertile land, as it were, with infrastructure and all other amenities. They are the ones who are able to promote the region. So if we have an investment climate that is conducive, you'll find that the private sector that has already plowed money into our municipalities will be the one that will do a difficult job of going around and talking about our region. So it's important that we have that in place. And the next one is the cooperation. The cooperation that has been demonstrated in this project between the national government, provincial government, and the relevant municipalities, the SOEs, as we will be talking to them just now, and the private sector, is critical. Because if you don't get them all on board, we are likely to actually lose. When you've got an international donor or investor coming into your terrain, they find that things are happening, they are likely to follow suit. It's like going to a new restaurant. If the locals are not going to that restaurant as a visitor, why should I be bothered? I must learn from the locals. If they do it, then I'm likely to follow suit. So it's important that we have that cooperation at all levels, and our plan is actually quite a meaningful plan. Then the next one is to have meaningful partnerships. In this instance, the relationship that we have been able to develop with the Canadians, one of the reasons why it has been successful is because as much as they are a developing country, they were not arrogant. They knew that in partnering with us, there are weaknesses that we have in our system, but they were able to learn. So the things that they end up identifying are things that really talk to us. It was not for them to come and dictate to us what to do, but they came to partner. So that's, for me, it's a meaningful partnership where you understand what your plan is, you articulate that plan, and if there are questions that need to be asked, we are receptive and we are prepared to learn. It becomes very important. Perhaps the last one, before maybe the two last one, the community partnership becomes critical. The last one is the institutionalizing of these development plans. I need to emphasize that because we are going into elections this year. What we have seen in the past, Jeremy, is that when there are good plans on the table, then we go into election and the new leadership comes in. You take what is in the plan, you put it aside, you start from scratch. And what I'm saying is that as South Africans, as the municipalities, we cannot afford to start from the ground all the time. We need to have plans and programs that are institutionalized, that see the light beyond the term of office of our political leaders. So those are the few remarks that I just wanted to make as an introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zamo. A great way to get us going, talking about what are some of the things that need to be in place for us to achieve growing local economies, investment promotion, the importance of leadership, the climate, cooperation, partnerships. I think these are all, as you said, some of the ingredients that need to be in place, and you touched on how some of those were created through Big M. But let's hear from our panel, and I'm going to invite them to put on their cameras. Thank you, Dr. Nkosla. I see you, and let me ask our tech people just to pin Dr. Nkosla onto the screen. And is Mr. Mkabo online or is not available to join us? If you are online, please do switch your camera on so we can get you to join the panel. And I see Mkolisi Mkunu there. Please don't hold you alone on the panel. Okay, I think, there we go. We are constituted. So let me kick off. Dr. Nkosla, am I correct that you are from the district?
Good evening, morning, that side. No, I'm from province.
Oh, you're from the province, fantastic. Okay, from Kokta in the province, great. I'm going to start with you, just to get us going, around your engagement with the municipality in this very challenging space of growing the economy. How have you, what are your reflections on working with KSD at this time in the context of the Big M project?
Thank you. Thank you, facilitator. Greetings to everyone. As Kokta LED, our mandate is to strengthen municipality institutional capacity, promote good governance for an effective economic development. As Kokta, we had partnered, we had a partnership with the BIGM to review the LED strategy for KSD municipality. We support the municipality through the review, implement, monitor of LED strategies and plans, as well as ensure that the LED is expressed in terms of the integrated development plan. This is the work that we have done for KSD in partnership with BIGM. They have reviewed a strategy which was last updated in 2007. I quite like the approach that the BIGM program have used, which was the developmental approach, making sure that the municipality is left with the skill. This was to make sure that the municipality was able to do its own work and without outsourcing their work to service providers. And on behalf of Kokta, we are thankful to the BIGM program for the support. I will also support the municipality to develop the LED guiding policies and bylaws to promote growth of local economies. We capacitate LED function with competent workforce to deliver on the LED mandate as expressed in the LED strategy. We also have a partnership with FNB where we incubate the SMMEs, which is aimed at developing and strengthening quality of small, medium, and large entrepreneurs in the Eastern Cape. This initiative emanates from a number of strategic national documents, including the National Development Plan, the Provincial Development Plan, but it's also responding to the challenges of capacity of municipalities as well as SMMEs. And we facilitate a common understanding and position of LED across politicians, officials, communities, and businesses. This will also partner with SALCA in orientating the new elected councillors on LED. We support municipalities to establish coordination forums to ensure integrated implementation of LED initiatives. We advocate for inclusion of vulnerable groups within the mainstream economy. We support monitoring and evaluation exercises to establish the extent of implementation of LED strategy. This is the new project that we've actually embarked on, where we support municipalities in packaging of catalytic projects for investment, and KSD was part of the 6 municipalities that were chosen by COCTA. We're also embarking in a process whereby we will support municipalities in sourcing funding from the development financial institutions for their projects or initiatives. As COCTA, I must say that we actually do not have funding to support municipalities, but we assist them with our technical skills. So we've seen that in assessing the LED part within the IDP, we have noticed that the main challenge in implementing the LED strategy is the lack of funding. So this is why we thought that it's important that we source the funding for municipalities so that they are able to implement the LED strategy. One other thing that we've just done recently, we supported the OR Tambo in developing an economic recovery plan that includes all local municipalities. The economic recovery plan was therefore seeking to address the effects of COVID-19 pandemic and also increase the safety net of the most vulnerable of the region's economy. In line with the national and provincial response plan, the district seeks to focus on areas that will have the greatest impacts. And the strategy was, we had 3 pillars, which is the business support, infrastructure development, and ICT development and support. We still have to do the implementation plan in order to put the programs that will be driving at the 3 pillars that are spoken of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's this thing that's happened to us with our economy and with COVID, is that the money's dried up. It's LED strategy and not outsource it, because strategy, not just getting the document. It sounds very correct. Mxolisi, let's get you on the screen, please. I mean, you're from SALGA and one of the leaders of this project. Tell us a little bit from your perspective around how, as a partner, as a support partner, you've been working with KSD on this issue of promoting the economy in that area.
Program director, maybe to set the scene, just to dissect this whole terrain of investment. Often when we have these big investment conferences, or our president goes to the World Economic Forum and attracts these big investments for the country, and there are all these big pledges of billions of dollars. Somehow we lose sight of the fact that those investments, all of them, will ultimately land in a municipality. And unless we create the right environment at a municipal level, then we don't have any, there are no prospects whatsoever of those investments actually succeeding. So this is something that really we must not lose sight of, and always be cognizant of the fact that local government ultimately is the nerve center, because that is, essentially where, everything takes place. So there is something really, because we can have all the national, provincial strategies on how to attract investment, but if we don't get things right at a local level, where the lived experiences of businesses is, then then it means we don't have a firm grip on that particular issue of investment, and that's really one of the I would say hallmarks of this Bigm partnership, in that some of the tools that they were able to bring to us, and really we were able to put them into practice, such as the business retention and expansion tool, where we actually went door to door to businesses to actually conduct a survey, in terms of their level of satisfaction, to get their concerns. We're able to document those, and thereafter analyze those results and get a sense exactly of what are some of the issues that businesses face. Because before the Big M program, we're always obsessed about attracting new investment. But what Big M brought to us was the fact that, it is just as important to also focus on retaining existing investment. And I think this is even more of an issue now, now that we are facing COVID. We've got to focus our energies equally on attracting new investment, but also on retaining existing investment. So those are some of the tools really that they leave behind that we are going to take forward, as SAGA, because they speak fundamentally to local-based action in terms of attracting and retaining an investment, and also with regards to how we look at investment. Of course, we've got to look at spaces applying the lens of differentiated approach, because we can't apply the same solutions in KSD, as we can't replicate the solutions of an urban city, for instance, like Durban or other urban areas. Here we've got to maximize on our own asset, and one of our main assets here is the natural assets as well as the culture. Earlier on, there were presentations around people who are involved in that arts and culture industry. So we've got to look at what is our competitive advantage as KSD and offer that to the market. And it's one of the ways really that we can remain competitive instead of trying to have this generic models of investments and economic development. And lastly, Jeremy, in South Africa, and you would have noticed that our municipalities tend to have a more adversarial relationship with businesses. We see a lot of cases where we are taken to court and losing because we are not able to provide services. I mean, there are a recent case in Legwa, for instance, in Mpumalanga, where we were taken to court. We've been reading about this case in the Northwest Province where Clover is threatening to pull out because they don't have access to proper services, and all of those speak to investment retention and investment attraction. And from our experience, what we are finding is that it's not that businesses, I think that in most cases they go to court because it's a last resort, but it's not because they are not willing to meet us halfway. But it's the whole issue of us not being upfront with them and not communicating timelessly our challenges. They know very well that resources are constrained, but we just need to ensure that we bring them closer and we communicate with them. We are transparent with them in terms of what we can provide and what we are not in a position to provide. I think we've seen also, for instance, in municipalities where there are mining houses, they tend to come to the party, they tend to come to the table, and where they can, they actually even assist in providing some of the services, such as water, for instance. We've seen that happening in places like Emalahleni in Mpumalanga. So, we just need to make sure that we build that relationship with the business community at a local level. And it's really one of the things that through this program we're able to do, not just through theory, but we're able to do it in practice as well. And we saw how it unfolded. And I think the results that we're able to produce there were quite immense. And really this, one of the, as I said, it's a hallmark for this project, and it's something that remains with us, that has been imparted in us, and that we're going to take forward, of course, even to other municipalities.
Yeah. Thanks, Mxolisi. I mean, I already... let's retain what we've got, not always be obsessed with the new. Door to door to businesses and communicating with them, I think is just, it's obvious, but we often don't do that. Let me just apologize if we've got some slight network challenges. I hope that you're all able to hear me. So I want to go back to you, Dr. Nkotla. I mean, you've heard what Mxolisi is saying. You, as Eastern Cape COGTA, work to support municipalities on these matters. What would you say you've identified as almost like critical success factors that you would want to see going forward in KSD, building on what has been achieved with the Big M project so far?
Thank you. I would like to say that I'd want us to continue to have the partnerships. I think the partnerships, they work very well. We've seen that when we were reviewing the LED strategy,
You know that in South Africa, we've got a number of programs and plans to pull in vulnerable groups, whether you talk about women, you're talking about rural communities, you're talking about youth businesses. But what we learned from Big M is that we don't have to talk about this thing, we must just get on with it. I mean, I've been in SALCA for only 6 months, but what I've seen them doing is that they just say, this is what needs to be done, let's go and do it. Even your strategy, you perfect it whilst you are making mistakes in the process, because otherwise you plan forever, which I think is the biggest challenge for us in South Africa. So those are the two things that we need to be able to do and do it convincingly. The last one is just to emphasize the point that we need to break this level of mistrust between the private sector and the public sector, because we are losing a lot of opportunities by just that. There's so much that we can do together and do it well. In other countries, Canada included, is that you'll find that even in terms of infrastructure development, there are projects that are driven by the private sector. When I'm saying driven by private sector, it's not like they come and submit bidding for tenders, but they even put their own finance to invest in those projects because they know that at the end of the day, there are returns. So I think there's some of thinking that we have to try to inculcate in our own public sector, because we cannot do it alone. The past just doesn't allow us to do it alone. So in conclusion, really, I'll say I'm grateful at a personal level from what I've learned from the program, but I'm also helpful that one has been able to make a small contribution to the program. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Zamo. I mean, I think we all share those sentiments. We really have to get into implementation. I'm building on what Mxolisi also said. Let's get doing it. Let's make the mistakes we need to, but let's not shy away from doing it. We need to implement our policies. And there is great good practice out there. There are great partnerships to be built and expanded. We can't do otherwise. The stakes are too high. So let me thank you, Zamo, Dr. Nkohla, Mxolisi. Thank you very much for your inputs on this panel. We are going to now change gear a little bit and start to look at this model of Big M. And I'm going to hand to Kubeshni to take us through this piece. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
And while Teboho gets to a mic and gets mic'd up, yes, this last section has Mr. Teboho Matlo and Mr. Marshall Galado. And you know, Marshall, we're almost given that there were two pieces that emerged from this last piece around. Zamo said something about institutionalized plans, and going into a new cycle of local government. I'm really aware that we don't come in and reinvent the wheel. And then Mxolisi spoke about, one of these advantages around Big M was that you moved from the generic models to really local models, and he said, the model for Joburg and Durban would not work for smaller municipalities. So I'm so curious about your and Teboho's reflections on the modeling side of things, because it's my hope and perhaps my desire that this modeling piece of work is one of those legacy pieces that we're talking about, that we can take into another space, into another a cycle of local government. So what do you have to say about that? Tebs, are you at a mic yet? Have you been mic'd up? Perhaps while you're getting that, Marshall, you can get us started. And we've got a presentation.
Thank you. I don't have a presentation, but my twin brother is there. So greetings from Canada, South Africa, Dumelang, Unjani. Happy to be here with you guys again. I'm missing you all. I wish I could be there. All very interesting points, but I think I'll start a little bit further back. I think when Canadians, and we've heard this a little bit throughout the day today, when Canadians get involved in international development, international cooperation, they really embrace the spirit of cooperation and collaboration and true partnership, right? So what that means to many Canadians is really attuning and listening to what's on the ground and responding to those needs. So I think FCM has always adopted a very participatory model of development, which involves really listening to your partners. And for that, we have to be attuned to them. We have to talk to them. We have to be there and explore their challenges. FCM adopts what we call the Municipal Partnership Development Model. And this is where we're putting the twinnings together, the marriages between municipality to municipality. And why do we do this? We do this because when we twin the partners together, it allows them to really go deeper and to knowing each other, first of all, building trust, building transparency, but leading towards really talking about each other's reality and context, right? That way we get rid of a lot of assumptions that could be made, and then perhaps make suggestions that are not going to address the issues on the ground. But through talking to each other, through living an experience together, you're able to respond. Now, the MPD model, or the municipal partnership development model, is all about that. It's allowing two municipalities to know each other, to know their challenges, but to tailor make a response to address the issues in KSD or in Nushwa or in Port St. John or in Koha, right? So it's this diving deeper into the context that will really allow a true response. And I think that goes, you can link it to many other points, like M. Khaleesi said, we have to maybe trust one another, right? Between sectors or between government departments or between different strata of the political system. So we have to build that trust, but we have to start looking at, well, how do we really truly respond to the needs on the ground? So I think that that would be one thing. Coming out from the previous session on Friday with Mbezana, and people on the other side have always known that I've always said that the Bigm is a project and an experience of partnerships of partnerships of partnerships. So we have a partnership between the Canadian government and the South African government through National Treasury and Global Affairs Canada. Then we have the SALGA partnership, which is SALGA FCM, right? And then we have our municipal partnerships. But as we have gone along to understanding what's going on in the Eastern Cape, Teboho, myself, and other SALGA colleagues have felt that we also needed to build partnerships with anchor cities, with the district, with Kokta, with MISA, with Didit. So it's become even more partnerships of partnerships, because we start seeing that once we break down the silos, as we heard also in our previous on Friday's meeting, breaking down those silos not only brings more resources in that are able to respond at the local level, but it also gets us to know each other's work a lot better, right? So by building partnerships, breaking down the silos, and knowing each other's context on the real on the ground will really help us tailor make a response that will really truly address issues on the ground.
I love this word that you use, attuned, and it's a beautiful word, because it's more than just listening. It's about responsive listening. It's about active listening, and on the learning for me, if you think about that the previous slide that came up, you had the knowledge management part of it, and a critical component of being able to replicate from a knowledge management perspective is being able to take appropriate practice. And if you're not attuned to context, as you indicate, to what is happening on the ground, you could actually cause more damage by trying to share practice from one place to another. So this lesson that you're sharing, Marshall, is really very important, not just for, I think, our bilateral and our global sharing, but even municipality to municipality locally. So I'm really enjoying this piece. And Big M is a partnership of partnerships of partnerships. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I love the way you guys have embraced what could have been a very complicated and complex network of these agreements, but you've made it meaningful. You've really made it meaningful, which is beautiful. Tebogo, where are you? I can't see you. Where's your twin, Marshall? It's I can't see.
Oh, is nothing without his twin. So I hope will come on there. But there he is. There he is.
Tibbs.
But maybe as he gets ready, I want to add the models that the Canadians brought. Now, they are mostly, sometimes European frameworks or models or Canadian models. But I think the Canadians, as they knew their partner, they started to see that these models, as they're used here at home, would not work back home. So that's how come they gave the South African colleagues saying, here's the model, but how do we adapt the model to fit your needs, right? And I think that's the beauty and what really makes a good working adaptive relationship, to say, okay, well, we have to make it work for you and not try to fit a square peg to a round hole, right? Or the other way around. So I think that's something that's being worked on. And even right now, towards this last leg of the project, I see Teboho still looking over there. So I'll continue for a little bit. But we're still building partnerships yet at this end of the leg. Right now, and Teboho will touch on this, we have on our side here, the FCM side, we've partnered with two asset management entities in Canada that we are currently offering to 30 South African colleagues the opportunity to be certified in asset management through an international certification body. And that's through a partnership that we've made here at FCM with them. They also participate in our other Canadian municipal management asset management program. But again, another partnership that came through FCM and then now is feeding into Big M. And also coming up, we'll make another announcement, hopefully towards our final event on the 24th and the 25th, that we'll be launching through another partnership for asset management webinars that will be offered to at least 500 folks, and there will be no charge. People will be able to just, they're self-guided, self-oriented modules, webinars to look at online and to get more knowledge on asset management. But I think my brother Mbulelo is ready, so I will pass it over to you, Kubeshni or Teboho.
Thank you very much. Tebogo, the mic is yours.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Program Director, all the protocol observer again. I was struggling to put a slide because I wanted to show the beginning of the project and now. When we started with the project, we started with the former mayor, Councillor Zozo, with Mam Kinga being the lead in the project. But the municipality continued with having Councillor Kinga continuing with the project. And that's a good story to tell as a municipality, that PDO, even when we chop and change, because we are going to local government elections, consistency is required. And we try to bring it where it is with the support of the leadership. Even when executive mayor was coming in, it was a little continue. I'm told I must put my Salga brand. Yeah, so we continued. PDO joined us on the road, but he panel beated us also. Hence you see him is with us here, but he was focusing on governance issues. Once we can get governance, if you can get that, what Zama is raised, Mkoli is raised, we will get more investment in our municipalities. But without taking much of your time, because it's evening, Marshall spoke about the work that we are doing. We have signed a partnership with also the University of Nelson Mandela to talk about the LED program. But we look at that program focusing on the current pandemic. It's designed as part of the LED cohorts to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth through the entrepreneurial behavior. As you have seen, I thought I would take a picture, perhaps Isaac took. We need to ensure that we strengthen the spirit of entrepreneurship, but focus more on how municipalities can support women, youth, and people with disabilities. So the program is starting on the 23rd, 24th, but it's going to be visually because we requested municipalities to apply, and also facilitating market access and creating a climate conducive to investment and business activity. So those that are going to attend, as per the PDO alluded earlier on also, is that we also need to look at the strategic partners and how we achieve the objectives of the integrated development plan. We are not dealing with it outside the IDP, but also developing economic recovery plans post-COVID-19. My team one is also working on that policy, but also strengthening the business retention and expansion through innovation, because now we really need that part of innovation. Technology plays a key role. Without technology for now, and I see the challenges that were faced here, it's connectivity. And we really need to engage bigger service providers because we are contributing to the market. Have towers so that our rural municipality becomes a rural metro. That was our plan when we started the program, Mr. Panzo. But also to ensure that we're improving on our communication and retaining capital and income for the local economy. That's how the program should focus on. But the latter one is what Marshall spoke about, and this is what Gekta has been talking about, that we have learned a lot from Canadian partners. And we would like to thank the government of Canada also for introducing this work. It's a professional certificate in assets management planning, which is, I think by next week, the 21st, the participants from different municipalities will be able to submit the asset management plan. We've got natural resources here, but in our plans, we don't talk about those. The Coffee Bay, it's one of those that we can attract as much as we can. The film guys were here, they spoke a lot about that. So, but it's asset, natural asset, and we've got bigger icons here where we can engage the families and try to make KSD a destination of choice. Without even traveling the entire province, we can copy what the Canadians are having in British Columbia, in the city of Surrey. It's how you see Canada without traveling a PDO, but you see it in an innovative 3D studio. The queues are so long in that facility. Oweto was part of us when we were there. But it's a massive investment. But the return on investment is huge, because you can even engage the families of our former icons without even going to visit the grave of Utata. You can just sit in Nelson Mandela, but go and visit, but you pay. Those are the things that we can use our natural assets to make Eastern Cape landscape so beautiful. This area, this place is very beautiful. But there are 7 modules there. It talks about the risk management, life cost cycle, planned budgets, level of services, credibility of modeling. Data is very key, and how you do the demand management. And that course, Babu Keka, we want to continue with it so that Salga take that course and take what Marshall has just raised, to continue partnering with MISA so that we can make a submission to our political principal to lobby for it. Yes, it's expensive, but the return on investment for those that are doing it, with also Salga staff, they are positive on that program. So as Marshall has alluded, program director, is that we are also providing the COVID relief. Municipalities will be able to receive those. The PEC also, through the leadership of Councillor Koyo, approved that. So we'll be able to come back and implement. Isaac is there. He's the person also who's managing to see whether we implement that project based on the relief that we wanted to do. Both Isaac and Makingwani are working on that. So we'll be able to come to conclude that project so that we are able to conclude what you agreed upon. And it's a partnership of partnership and partnership. For us to partner, we need to partner amongst ourselves and ensure that we keep this project flowing beyond the agreement with FCM and the Global Affairs Canada. There is a plan for phase 2. I'll pose the question back to you. Will you be part of that? If they can ask Mr. Panzwa, as part of the lesson learned, we need to showcase. As we are going towards the final session next week, program director, is that we'll also be going to share the stories so that everybody can see what we have during the course of 4 years. Our timing was, perhaps it was an opportunity for COVID-19 so that we can start to improve our technology. But it is what it is now. We need to continue with it. But thank you very much. I would like to thank before the Tatu Mayor Aza, under the leadership of PDO Gekte, for the support also. Lance Joel in his absentia. The Babu Koyo, as you know, he's our political principal. BIGM is his baby. If he talks BIGM, we had all the mayors attending there. He said this is our program, and it's the first for Salga, it's the first for FCM to implement this kind of a program. You've got a story to tell. You have the story to tell. Just tell your story through your communication. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Teboho. Very much, Marshall. And Teboho, maybe I'll ask you, since you're in the room, to please welcome Councillor Lenali to come and close out for us today's proceedings. The Mayor of King Sabata Dalindyebo local municipality. So to formally close out for us. Thank you, Marshall, and thank you, Teboho. And what I'm hearing is that this is a process of closure, but there are legacy pieces, and I see that there's a lot of effort going into appreciating these legacy pieces. And so as we close out so that we can get energy for where we would go to next, these pieces, these learning pieces, these institutional pieces become really important in relation to ensuring that the landscape at a systems level is forever changed. So thank you very, very much for your inputs, our twins. Really, now I'm really looking forward, Jeremy, to this, to the 2 days, later on next week. So can I hand over to His Excellency the Mayor to close us out formally for today? And I'm so it's dark on my side, Jeremy. It's dark on your side, very much so. Mr. Mayor, over to you.
My facilitators, Ihlombe. That was Tebogo's way of introducing himself on the early days when we first met. I know that Izandla now. I know that insofar as Salga Izandla. Tebogo was fascinated by Ihlombe at that time. Really, this is a great day indeed to reflect on a relationship which took about 4 years. The terrible twins, Marshall and as well as Tebogo, were very much young then. You could see you could see the way they are presently when you can look at their faces and at that time. Thanks once more. Thanks once more when you are talking about the benefit of the people of KSD they have received from the relationship. Salga, your leadership, Tatukoyo, together with the collective leadership, the way you consistently provide leadership in all our gatherings. I remember our first meeting, there was Councillor Fire, who was accompanying. Consistently, even the chairperson once attended one of the sessions we had in KSD. I know, Sobs, I know the way you are so detailed in terms of making sure that the programs are not going astray. Hence, you were talking about governance. Thank you so much for your leadership also there, because it's very, very much important, very, very much important to ground everybody, to take all the issues forward. Continue Salga spearheading our municipalities towards the right direction. Thank you so much. COGTA, our partners, COGTA is our big brother. They are forced to, wherever we are, They're forced to be part of us in terms of steering the ship. The way they have closely worked with us as municipality. Dr. Ngosla and your team, I remember very well when we were starting looking closer on this issue of LED strategy. Really, that was a moment which I noticed that we are forced to work closer with everybody. Our stakeholders, the passion you are having for KSD, let me start there. The passion you're having for KSD, the way you interface with the municipality on the programs of KSD, please make us to, not to sleep as KSD. Continue, knocking. Continue waking us up so that at the end of the day, the people of KSD benefit. Thank you so much. FCM, the people of Canada, the way you have partnered with us, the South Africans, through Salga, I can call Marshall my brother. I can call everybody who comes from that side. I've interacted. Stephen, Vince, everybody. The way we have related. You could say, when you are talking about now global community, you could say it's just one because of how you have handled a relationship between us and yourselves. We committed as the Council of KSD in the following. I just wanted to go through what we have committed on so that you know when you are going out of here, the impact of the program, Big M program, did in KSD. Now we can clearly say we've committed on KSD citizens the following: increase employment opportunities to reduce poverty. The first one. The second one, support the imperatives, the innovation through capacity building to create value in local businesses. Number three, improve ease of doing business, which I think is a punching line. Umxolisi is talking about the business climate insofar as that is concerned. Improve ease of business, of doing business by improving infrastructure, red tape reduction. We also committed on the issue of municipal funds. Firstly is to attract investment to facilitate industry development in focus sectors to increase business tax base. Insofar as municipal funds, we also committed in enhance municipal revenue through creating new business districts and precincts. Number three, we leverage strategic funding from government entities and private sector. On our processes, we said we have to engage business community, other levels of government. We have to engage. Secondly, develop strategic partners and collaborate opportunities. Thirdly, enhance service delivery through technology, the issue of smartness, process improvement, and strengthen monitoring systems. And lastly, when it comes to municipal personnel, we said as a council, we will build internal capacity. We are committing in building internal capacity through targeting training programs based on skills and personal development plans. Secondly, we strengthen inter-directorate collaboration, which was very much weak before BIGM, to increase impact for development initiative. And lastly, to attract and grow expertise to improve implementation of development initiatives and attract incentives for recognition of good performance. That's what KSD Council committed through this relationship. Ndiqinisekile uzawufika utsho Mama Umshukwang that as KSD we are still yearning for more partnerships, so that at the end of the day, the people of KSD, the lives of the people of KSD is turned around. Thanks a lot, Program Director. Thanks a lot for honoring this day. Thanks a lot for making this day a beautiful day as it is. We have learned a lot. We've learned a lot, I'm telling you, and we are advancing the agenda. Thanks a lot.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Jeremy.
I think there's only one thing to say, which is to invite Councillor Mshukwana just to get us all to Bambi Zandla and Kwabele Zandla and say thank you so much from Matatio to KSD to Joburg to Canada. It's a partnership that grows the economy. Let's keep on partnering. So what do we say? Councillor Mshukwana, can you lead us in your beautiful sayings? It's the three that will get us to feel like we've closed something we don't want to close.
We're going to say Beti Zandla Pinda Futi Yenze njalo.
Thank you so much, everybody. We're looking forward to taking this forward next week in Gqeberha. And up until then, we'll be touring the other local municipalities that are part of Big M. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.